doubled in America, you were able to ship 15% more to our allies. Also came along was war gardens. In World War II, in the future they're called victory gardens, where people prepared their own vegetables. I mean, the farmers out here are great with hay, barley, sugar beets and such, but how many of you eat hay, barley, or sugar beets? Or more peas, corn, potatoes, tomatoes. The wheat can be processed into flour for bread or noodles. So that was the importance of wheat. A bushel of wheat weighs 60 pounds, and yields about 42 pounds of flour. Some of that surplus is bran, the outer red coating, which has bran flakes. The bran is high in protein to be used to supplement animal feed like dairy rations to get more milk. Oh, and they both, before Hoover ran for president, both the Democrats and Republicans wanted to give for their candidates.
Another major advancement of the First World War is the invention of more advanced medical technology. During the American Civil War, and even during the Spanish-American War, if you were shot in the torso of your body, you were going to die. You would get infection and you would die. If you got shot in the leg, it was an automatic amputation. If you broke your femur, it was a 90% chance of death. If you broke your upper arm, it was an 80% chance of death. How many of you in here have broke a bone before? Was it either your femurs or upper arms? Upper arm, you would most likely have lost your arm. How many people here have ever had antibiotics? Pretty much everyone. Without World War I, you would not have antibiotics. How many of you in your medicine cabinet at home have either hydrogen peroxide or a rubbing alcohol to project if you have a cut? That's because of World War I. During World War I was the invention of antibiotics. Antibiotics were originally designed as mold that was growing in the petri dishes, and it was accidentally administered to the soldiers. And when they realized the soldiers that had the moldy rags put on them were actually doing better than the ones with clean rags, they started learning the mold with penicillin in it would help you. Daskin solution was the original rubbing alcohol. It was quite literally bleach watered down with some salt and honey in it. It would help the wound heal quicker and kill germs. Splints. During the war, they invented a splint that would actually put tension, called a tension splint, onto a broken bone to pull it, and then they could cast it to help you be able to survive. They also invented what were called individual first aid kits. This is the individual first aid kit issued to a trooper in World War I. It contains a wire tourniquet and one bandage. Most soldiers learn your bandolier makes a better tourniquet than the tourniquet you were issued, but when you have 30 seconds between life and death, anything helps and it'll help you. Now, this is an ottoman. So the Central Powers, this is the enemy. Bandolier from the First World War. They are issued 8mm Mausers for their Gewehr Model 98s. But it gives you an idea how your bandolier could be used as a tourniquet. Now, we also have the invention of sulfate. If you have ever seen a World War II movie in the future, where someone is shot and they tear open a yellow powder and dump it into the wound, that is sulfate. Sulfate is quite literally sulfur, salt, and several other things that make it so the wound clots faster. However, it burns so bad, most people say that it actually hurts worse than the gunshot. Now, in the trenches, you are going to see, because the year is getting close to 1918, advanced German troops. They are known as the Sturmtruppen. The Sturmtruppen are their special forces. They will come into your trench in the middle of the night with a club and kill you if you're not alert. If you see this badge, that is the sign of the Sturmtruppen. Shoot them first. Do not take them prisoner, and that is a standing order. If they are wounded, you kill them. You will also notice our units are identified by collar discs. This is for the United States and for artillery. Finally, when you get ready to go over the top, you will hear a high, sharp, shrill. That is your trench whistle. The trench whistle can be heard over the sound of artillery fire. It is extremely loud. Do not blow it in any confined space.
There, believe it or not, was a drop of fertility rates during this period, up to 29%. will draft. People planning to get married didn't. They held off when they would return, and many men didn't. France, Germany, and Russia lost many millions of Americans compared to the 125,000 dead we had. France lost 1.8 million. England lost 750,000. Germany lost 2 million. Russia lost 1.8 million. Austria-Hungary 1.5 million. Italy 500,000. Serbia 500,000, where the war started with the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand, Duchess Sophie. Romania 500,000. And Turkey 1/3 of a million, plus 2 million civilians. So you take 10 million males out of the mix in the world population of, I don't know, I can't say that in years, but in that period of being fathers. If you figure each family was 4 to 6 people, you're looking at 40 to 60 million children that were born. Now, Sam and I have talked. My English side, the Smiths, my dad had the bigger family. There were 4 of them. He had an uncle that didn't have any children. He had an aunt that had 3. Had an uncle that had 1. My Polish German side, from 1910 to 1928, there were 7 born. Immigrants tend to have more children than those that have been here for several generations. Which led children being born causes a manpower shortage in the future of 1939 comes around. And also makes the French very scared about going to full war because they remember the casualties that they have. This is what I would do. Food rationing. Who knows what the black market is? You think so, John?
Just a little.
What do you think?
What do I think?
What do you think the black market is?
It's kind of like an alternative to regular markets.
Yes. And you can find things you can't in the regular way that you see.
Yeah, but they don't, right?
Yeah. With people seeing the effect of war from the weekly dispatches out of England, and with the beginning of April, when we entered the war, people started pulling stuff in and keeping it. And they were starting to hoard, which caused food shortages. Now, the Germans and them had it much worse than we did. So they issued ration stamps, that like they did in World War II. In the future, you would have X number of ounces of butter, X number of pounds of bacon, and bread and such. Which brought the victory gardens, the war gardens, more into effect because you could have them. You could have a few hens, have more eggs, you could trade with your neighbor. But here in Germany, they're waiting for a bread ration. And if you notice, you don't see very many men, predominantly women, and some children in tow. With the food shortage, there were other ramifications. The Bolshevik Revolution in 1917 took Russia out of the war, which led to the creation of the Soviet Union and communism until it collapsed in 1989, all brought about by that. Turkey went from a sultanship to a democracy with Ataturk. It was 1923. It changed that part of the Middle East. The Austro-Hungarian Empire got split up